name is it's Martha Dominguez, but I go by Marty Dominguez. I am co-founder of the school. This is our 23rd year. Very well connected with political folks, you know, which is important. She was very well connected with internationally, like with National Council La Raza. And then she was friends with other people, like the first charter school founder, and which Community of Peace. So she applied to the state for a charter, and they granted it. You know, they gave her permission to open a school pre-K through high school. And so the whole process started, you know, getting all the permits and interviewing teachers and just doing budgets and doing the whole plan. Decided to look on the east side, and there was a church that was renting. Their building was empty. The little school was empty, so we rented that building. And it was really challenging because even the people that were in that church didn't want to rent to Latinos.
Oh, what?
So like they flat out, one of the times that we went to see the school, I was like so excited. I'm like, oh my gosh, Ramona, this is our building. And I walked in, and one of the people said, what are you doing in this building? And you people aren't welcome here. So we had a lot of challenges, not only, you know, the fact that the funding and all of that, but just people thinking at that time that charter schools were like, didn't have teachers that were licensed, and it had inexperienced directors, and it's kind of a pretend school. But the challenges that she had also with the charter school is the charter schools are public schools. You just have to apply, and it depends on the state and the district. You have to, you know, make sure you abide to when you're applying, that you know what you need to do as a charter school. And we are like any other public school. The funding comes from the state. So we get a certain amount of money for every child, and so your numbers really bring in the money. You get money from the state for serving your educational program. But it's harder because charter schools typically start small, and the other thing with a charter school is you get to apply to be part of the bigger districts. Like we could have applied with the St. Paul Public District and said, will you take us on as a charter school? And some districts say yes, and some districts say no. But Ms. Ramona said, you know, I want us to be our own district. So she applied. And so if you look under our district number, it's one school. It's this one. Where if you look under 625, District 625, it's all the St. Paul Public Schools and charter schools, some. So she decided we were going to be our own district because that also was going to create a lot of challenges. We weren't going to be able to do what we wanted to do as a charter school. We were going to have to follow everything else that all the other St. Paul Public Schools do. So we decided to be our own district. She applied, she was granted. And the other thing, when you're a charter school, you have to they give you the opportunity to be unique. You have to have a specialty, a uniqueness to the charter. And there's like a math charter school, science focus, arts, Hmong. There's all kinds of charter schools. And she wanted ours to be the Latino community and the culture, familia, you know, that is what she wanted us to be able to service all the Latino families that were being kind of overlooked in the regular public schools, because they didn't have the services that the Latinos needed. They didn't have interpreters. They didn't have things in Spanish and English. They just weren't serving the families. And a lot of our children were failing. They were not finishing school. The dropout rate was horrendous, and they just were not servicing the children the way they were. Some of our younger children were being labeled special ed because pues no entienden, they don't understand, so there must be something, you know, and so a lot of that stuff was happening, and so we wanted to change that, and that's why her focus was more, we want to embrace. And then the thing that was happening too is that a lot of the families that we served in the Hispanic Pre-College Project said that they were losing their children. The moms would say, "Ay, mis hijos no quieren hablar español. Like, we're in the store and I speak Spanish to them, and they're like, I don't know what you're saying. Don't speak to me in Spanish." And so they were rejecting who they were instead of embracing and being proud of it. And so that's another thing she wanted. When she opened her school, she said, I want these children to believe in themselves, to embrace who they are, to embrace that you have you are learning two languages, and to know that you can, there's jobs, really good jobs you can get because you have two languages, and you can write and read in two languages, you know. You also have to have a very strong person that understands the business of running a charter school. And that's where it was challenging, because some people were like, charter school is just like a little hangout. Like, it's not. We have to have an authorizer too. That's the other thing. Every charter school has to have an authorizer, and it has to be like a higher ed entity. Like for us, it's the University of St. Thomas. So it's sort of like having two people, not two people, but two entities or two organizations, or whatever, however I can't say it right now. But it's the state that keeps an eye on the school districts and the schools and how they're doing, and its scores and finances, enrollment, licensed teachers, all of that. The state does that to everybody. And then charter schools have to have the authorizer, and the authorizer does the same thing. They were just here on Tuesday. They come and they visit and they interview staff, they interview parents, they interview the students, they walk around, they ask what curriculums you're using, what trainings, how's your budget, they meet with the board. So we as charter schools have double. Not only reporting to the state in all the programming that we have, and that's like the food program, busing, you know, testing, everything, all the academic part, but then also, you know, it's both. You have to keep up and report to both MDE, the Department of Education, the state, and then the charter, or the authorizer. And so that's something that is very different that the bigger districts don't have. That's where it's hard for us. That for us, they just look, they compare us kind of the same, and it's a little bit it's challenging, because we could never be, if you don't have the money to pay the teachers really good money, if we don't have the money to pay the teachers what St. Paul Public School is paying them, well, they can pay them more because they have how many schools and how many kids, where we are one school with how many kids. So those are the challenges that come up. We want the best for our teachers because they're very dedicated and very hardworking, and they're all licensed, and we're required to have professional development for them too. But eso cuesta, you know, it's expensive. It's expensive. So to me, those are the things that are continue to be challenging, and test scores. Test scores really started to impact us. Our scores were not doing very well, so the authorizer said, if your scores don't get better, we're not going to authorize you. And if you don't have an authorizer, you don't run your charter school. Se cierra. So every year, that's another thing that is so like, how many other schools aren't, you know, doing well, but they continue to stay open. The state allows them to stay open.